Hello again, everyone. Part two of the Fallen Kingdom projections. The 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 other videos in the process of uploading right now. In case you haven't or don't listen to the other one and decide to listen to this one, I'll go back over how things were worked out. The offensive points or projections were worked out off of six different lots of projections from around experts in the industry. Basically put them all together, divided them up, and worked out what the average of it was. Defensively, it wasn't as easy. Most of them were done off of two lots of projections. Some were done off three. Some were done off one. But absolutely none of this was my projections at all. My projections in most cases were significantly different. So take it with a grain of salt, but this is what the experts think of the leagues anyway. So here we go. First team off the bat is Poseidon, which I think is Barry Hunt, if I have got this correct. Yes, I have. All right. Barry, if you've watched the other one, you know this. You can already see this team's off to a pretty good start. Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Not much else. So if an injury was to happen, it's significant. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaiah Pacheco as your starting running backs. David Montgomery as your primary backup, with probably Jerome Ford. Gus Edwards might be able to chip in. Zeke might be able to chip in. But I think, and Devin Singletary, I guess, could probably chip in too. But you're hoping you don't have to go down that path. Gibbs is already dinged up a bit. I don't know how significant it is. AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb at receiver. We already know the CD holdout thing. God knows when it's going to end. But for everyone that's taken him, they've all put significant draft capital into him. So I'm sure you're all hoping that it's resolved relatively quickly. Primary backups, probably Christian Watson, Khalil Shakir, Rashid Shaheed, Jacoby Myers. That's probably it. They're nowhere near CD's level, so anything from there, you're probably looking minimum 15-point a game drop-off from what CeeDee Lamb would do on average. So Travis Kelce, George Kittle at tight end. That's probably your depth. Yeah, it is. Defensively, we got Chris Jones as your starter at DT. Leonard Williams is probably your best backup. At defensive end, you've got Trey Hendrickson, Khalil Mack. Yaya Diaby is probably your best backup, with maybe Tui Tuipulotu and Bradley Chubb when he's healthy. Cooper could be a solid backup as well. Linebackers, Levante David, TJ Edwards, Foy Luakon, and Alex Singleton will all grade out as starters. Eric Kendricks is probably your primary backup at the spot. Shaq Thompson could provide depth. CBs, Paulson Adebo and Teron Johnson as your starters. Safety-wise, you only had two grade out of starters, Buda Baker and Jesse Bates. Jair Brown, Von Bell, Elijah Gilman, Jordan Poyer, they could all provide depth. Offensively, you grade out with 191.05. Defensively, 241.43 for an overall score of 432.48. King Leonidas, Dave Harmsworth here. Now, quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson and Justin Herbert. Jonathan Taylor at running back. Oh, hang on. I should have a look at his. Gino's his primary backup at quarterback. Taylor is your lone starting running back. Blake Corum could provide depth there if he starts to eat into the carries of Corin. Who knows? Receiver, you've got Lad McConkey, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Debo Samuel. Backups, depth, not a lot. Tyler Lockett, Josh Downs, John Dotson, Brandon Cooks, Keon Coleman. They'll provide some depth. Jake Ferguson's your tight end. Tyler Conklin's probably your main backup with Chigga Okonkwo. So, defensive tackles, Elijah Cansey, Dexter Lawrence, Dietrich Wise, and Grover Stewart probably provide your depth there. Defensive end, you got Max Crosby and Byron Young. Really good at Max, but there's significant drop-off from Max there. Jared Verse could produce as a rookie. They generally don't. Defensive ends generally aren't particularly great as rookies. Uchenna Nwosu could provide some depth as well. Linebacker, Demario Douglas, CJ Mosley, grayed out as your starters with Kaiser White. Backups, Ivan Pace, sorry. He's probably your main backup. Losing Matt Milano probably doesn't help you there. I don't know if he's done for the whole year, but he's going to miss a significant amount of time. Nate Hobbs, Kenny Moore at cornerback, and Benjamin St. Juste grades out as a starter too. Safeties, Julian Love and Harrison Smith, and not a great safety room behind it. Definitely needs some work there. Offensive points, 168.42. Defensive points, 218.72. And overall, 387.14. Zeus. I have no idea who Zeus is. Fabian. All right. Fabian, what do we got here? We got Lamar and Kyler Murray as your quarterbacks, and they are your quarterbacks. You have nothing behind them. No starter at running back. Ty J, Javonte Williams could provide some depth. Receiver, Tank Dell, Malik Neighbors, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, all grayed out as starters. Jaden Reed provides depth, as will Roma Dunze, eventually, hopefully, as a starter. Jonathan Mingo could provide depth. Marvin Mims could provide depth. Demario Douglas could provide depth. Kedrick Bourne. Jesus, you've taken the entire Patriots wide receiver room. Hopefully, your sake, one of them hits. Tight ends, TJ Hawkinson grades out as a starter with Dalton Kincaid. Obviously, TJ's not going to be starting for the first half of the season. Pat Frymus can step in that spot. You've got some receivers that can come into that spot as well, so should be fine. Defensive tackle, Derek Brown. Ed Oliver, probably your main backup in that spot. Kenny Clark can be, as well as Grady Jarrett. Defensive ends, Myles Garrett, Matt Judon, grayed out as your starters. Alex Highsmith can provide depth. Brian Burns definitely can too. Zaven Collins might be able to at a pinch as well. Linebacker, you've got Aziz Al-Shaair, Fred Warner as your starters. Patrick Queen, depth. Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, depth. Frankie Louvu, depth. Tyrell Dodson, depth. Blake Cashman, Devondre Campbell could all provide depth as well. Corners, Russell Douglas and Roger McCreary. And safety, Julian Blackman, Grant Delpit, CJ Gardner-Johnson and Derwin James. Pretty solid safety room. Excuse me. Justin Reed, Richie Grant, maybe. probably your primary backups. Jordan Battle maybe too if he gets the snap. So offensive points 170, 183 overall, and defensively 240, 177 for a 413.6 overall grade. All right, Achilles, Steve Hefner. Quarterbacks. I don't think anyone likes it when you open up your quarterback room and Daniel Jones comes up as one of your starters. He'll probably do all right. That's probably pretty close to his points per game. He'll probably score solid and have a solid season. That's what you're going to get. Bo Nix is your primary backup with behind Daniel Jones and Tua Tagovailoa, and Deshaun Watson probably another backup as well. Running backs, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Bijan Robinson, all starters. Backup, Joe Mixon, Zach Moss, Raheem Mostert, Rashad White, probably all grayed out as backups for you. Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, starting receivers with Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson as your main backups at receiver. And Cole Kmet grades out as your starter. At tight end, she might be worth trying to make a move off of some of the depth on offense to possibly improve at tight end. Don't know. Cole's your Cole's your starter. Yeah, you're definitely looking at probably Michael May is probably your main backup. Oh, sorry, Dalton Schultz. I hadn't gone down far enough. I think Schultz and Cole Kmet are very similar points average. So defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. Probably Ashawn Robinson, main backup there, with potential in other spots. Jonathan Grenard, Odafe Owe, grade out as your starters at defensive end. Bryce Huff, Zach Harris, and Leonard Floyd, probably your backups. Divine Diablo, Kenneth Murray, Quincy Williams as your starters at linebacker, with Cody Barton, Divine Diablo, Isaiah McDuffie, probably your backups. Corners, you've got Devon Witherspoon and JC Horn. And at safety, what do we got? Amani Hooker, Xavier McKinney, and Jason Pinnock, great as your starters. Jabril Peppers, probably your main backup there. So, you've got some depth on offense. You might be able to move some pieces to solidify some on defense too. So, overall points, offense 178.39 and defense 221.44 for an overall grade of 399.83. The Praetorian Guards. This one is Matt Borich. What do we got? Quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence as your starters. Backups will be Will Levis, Derek Carr, probably Jacoby for this year. What do we got? Alvin Kamara as your starting running back. Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift all provide depth there. Wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, and Puka Nacua all grade out as your starters. Puka being dinged up doesn't help, but yeah, I've got some depth there anyway. Jameson Williams, Adam Thielen, Cortland Sutton, Darnell Mooney. They're probably your main backups at receiver. Trey McBride at tight end. Not a lot sitting there as a backup to him. Zach Ertz is always productive and generally holds the rookie out of a job. Tucker Kraft also could be a solid backup. What do we got here? Defensive tackle. Zach Allen's your highest graded defensive tackle. Kobe Turner's probably your highest graded backup. Defensive ends, Jonathan Allen, or Jonathan Hines Allen, or Josh, we want to say Jonathan Allen. Josh Hines Allen and Montez Sweat grade out as your starters, with probably Boye Mafe, Greg Rousseau, Kayvon Thibodeau as your main backups. Linebackers, we got Bob Spillane and Devin White as your starters. Does that work? Yeah, that works, yep. And backups, probably Jawan Bentley, probably your main backup there. Trent McDuffie, Cam Taylor-Britt as your starters at cornerback. And safeties, Jaquan Brisker, Kyle Hamilton, Ifeatu Melifonwu, and Jalen Thompson as your starters. Talanoa Funga, Javon Holland, Cam Curl, Jeremy Chin as your primary backups at safety. Offensive points, 180.15. Defensive points, 232.72. Overall score of 412.87. Pretty solid team. All right, Perseus. I think this one was Chris Anderson. Let me just confirm that it is. All right, Chris. Another one of the many Aussies in the league. All right, Josh Allen, 28.54 as your main quarterback. Jared Goff. JJ's done for the year, so he won't be helping you this season. Don't really have a third quarterback. All right. Breece Hall. And Breece Hall will be your main starting running back. Ramondre Stevenson, Jalen Warren probably provide depth there. Justin Jefferson, Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, your starters at receiver. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Polk, T. Higgins, probably your main backups at wide receiver. And Evan Ingram and David Njoku at tight end. Dallas Goedert probably provides the depth there as well. Johnny Smith possibly as well. Defensively, Jeffrey Simmons is your starter at defensive tackle, just ahead of Quinnen Williams. There's not much in between those two. Defensive end, Nick Bosa, Danielle Hunter, Harold Landry, all grade out as starters. Hassan Reddick, if he ever signs or turns up to play, is probably your primary backup with Rashawn Gary. EJ Speed is your lone starter at linebacker, but depth with Jordan Brooks, Tremaine Edmonds, Devin Lloyd can all start. Trayvon Diggs and Diamador Lenore at corner. And at safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, Jalen Petrie, Taylor Rapp, and I'd actually throw in Justin Simmons because at this point, when I was doing this one, he'd actually signed for the Falcons. He projects as a starter for you. Donovan Wilson, Brandon Jones probably create your depth. Offensively, 184.36 overall, and defensively, 231.23 for an overall score of 415.59. All right. I have no idea how to say this thing's name. Dionysus and Bacchus. I don't know. Male, female thing. So, anyway, this one's for Jared. Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy as his starting quarterback, and Gardner Minshew as his backup if he wins the job. Otherwise, we've got two quarterbacks. His starters at running back are Christian McCaffrey, and Derek Henry. McCaffrey been dinged up already, probably a little worrisome, but hopefully it's nothing too extravagant. Backups, probably best backups, James Conner, Khalil Herbert maybe, Nick Chubb maybe, Tony Pollard, probably your main backups. Actually, I can see a little issue here. Just give me a second. Okay, problem solved. Didn't have Brandon Ayuk listed as a starter for him. Trust me, when I was sitting there trying to look at these 80-man rosters, it was a slog going over them to see the starters. So I'm not surprised I missed a player there. So yeah, Ayuk, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans all grayed out as the starters. He's obviously a little concerned about Jamar Chase holdout now, as anyone that owns him in any league probably is. Backups, Mike Williams while he's healthy. Curtis Samuel should be solid. DeAndre Hopkins once he's healthy. Diggs and Keenan Allen. So yeah, he's got a bit of depth at wide receiver. Tight end looks awful with Mike Gesicki as your primary starter and literally just about nothing as a backup. Like, does not look good at all. So that's obviously going to hurt your offensive score overall. Justin Madubuike as your main starter at defensive tackle. You also had DeForest Buckner, who doesn't even grade into a starting spot according to the ratings. Sorry, need a board up. Joey Bosa, Sam Hubbard at defensive end. Jadeveon Clowney, maybe Cam Jordan, Josh Sweat, Andrew Van Ginkel as your backups. Linebacker heavy here was Zaire Franklin, Bobby Okereke, Roquan Smith and Bobby Wagner, all grading out as starters. Micah McFadden, Jordan Hicks, Alex Anzalone, your main backups. Corners, Jair Alexander and Derek Stingley. And safeties, Reed Blankenship, Kirby Joseph as your starters. Solid depth though, Kevin Byard, Chuck Clark, Jordan Fuller, Rayshawn Jenkins. So it's not, and Xavier Woods. Not like you don't have any depth there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you do defensively. Overall score 170.75 on offense. Defense 229.15 for a 399.90 grade overall. All right. Niels Hercules, Ricky Boyd. Ricky's basically created a roster for the future. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It probably would be a miracle if he was overly competitive in year one, but this team is not built for this season. It definitely has some promise within like two to 3 years' time, but it's just a wait and see approach there. So yeah, your starters: Jordan Love, Michael Penix Jr., Jordan Addison, Adonai Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, and Kyle Pitts. Oh, there's some really good parts there, and so many rookies on offense that I wouldn't even know. It just needs a few of these guys to hit. You got dart throws literally everywhere, and the odds are that probably 5 of them are going to turn into decent players at least. So, yeah, it's just it's a right this season off year probably for him, and obviously this was by design. So, defensively, what do we got? I think it's a pretty similar result here. Jalen Carter at DT with some good with a couple of other good young defensive tackles with him, and Brian Brzee and Byron Murphy. George Karloftis, Latu at defensive end with Trayvon Walker, Chop Robinson as well as a rookie. Miles Murphy could have some upside. linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper, Dan Henley, Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones is a really good young linebacker. But a stack of guys with upside: Trayvon Wallace, Peyton Wilson, DeMarvion Overshone, Junior Colson. So, I mean, like I say, it's not for this year for Ricky. Quinion Mitchell and Greg Newsom as his CBs, and safety is a mess. I struggled to even find 2 starters, to be honest. Nick Cross will play this year. I think the 10 points per game average is probably a bit under what he'll actually have. It looks like he'll be the starter with Julian Blackman, and they look like they're going to interchange roles. So I think he'll probably actually score all right. Cooper DeJean, I really like Cooper DeJean, but yeah, I just don't know how many snaps he's going to see this year. And most of the rest of them, Cam Kitchens has got upside. I like Dadrian Demison. Dadrian Taylor Demison. I like him, but not for this year. Yeah. Offensive points 140-171. Defensive points 172-87. Overall 314-58. But this is an absolute crapshoot. If some of these guys hit this year, those points will change dramatically. So it's too hard to project rookies. Dimanis or whatever the heck it is. Spirit. This is the closest thing you can find to finding something that meant his nickname in either one of the mythologies. So, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott at quarterback, and Caleb as a backup, according to this. My guess is Baker's probably going to end up the backup, and Caleb will probably be starting, but we'll see. James Cook, Kenneth Walker as his starting running back. Chase Brown provides depth. Dylan Libe could. Jaleel McLaughlin is sneaky chance to get some action in Denver. Brian Robinson should get some carries. Zamir White as well. Wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., Terry McLaurin, George Pickens as your starters. Rashee Rice, Calvin Ridley, probably your main backups at receiver. Yeah, probably are. Tight end is Mark Andrews. That's pretty dead. Luke Musgrave, probably your main backup. Maybe Daniel Bellinger might get some see some targets in New York. Defensively, defensive tackle Cameron Haywood, Osa Digizua, Zach Sealer, good backups. Defensive ends, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, really good young defensive ends there. Good backups too, Dallas Turner, Jalen Phillips, Quiddy Pay, Malcolm Kuntz, Carl Greenerson. So yeah, plenty of depth at defensive ends. Linebacker Nick Bolton is your starter with Logan Wilson. Denzel Perryman, Jack Gibbons, Caden Ellis, and Jerome Baker, probably your main backups. Cornerbacks, Deron Bland and Darius Slay. And safeties, Kyle Duggar, Josh Metellus, Tyler Newman, and Antoine Winfield, all grade out as your starters. Antonio Johnson will, I think, take Tyler Newman's spot for this year. I think he'll actually have a solid year, Antonio Johnson. Not a huge amount of depth after that. Jimmy Ward can be productive. Brian Cook might be. Yeah. Offensive points, 167.79 overall, and 234.56 for the defense for a 402.35 overall rating. Last team. I believe this is just pronounced Pan. It was I think it was Greek Greek god of hunting or something along I don't know, hunting or wild, something along those lines. And Stephen has a bit of a hunting hobby. So Steve Triffett, Devo. Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers as your quarterbacks. Drake May and Russ probably your backups, depending on who, when, why, whoever's going to start. I don't know. Travis Etienne, Kyron Williams as your running backs. Austin Eckler and Ray Davis, maybe at backups. Nico Collins, Murray Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown as your starting receivers. Montavian Wicks has a chance to be productive this year. Chris Godwin is always generally pretty productive. Probably your main receivers. Jalen Tolbert's had a little bit of buzz, but until he does it in a real game, I'll believe it. Tight end Sam Laporta, easily your starter. Noah Fant would be a good solid backup, as well as Kate Otten. Defensively, Jonathan Allen is your starting defensive tackle. Christian Barmore probably was slightly ahead, but I've pretty much put Barmore down as probably not playing most, if any, this season. Darius Robinson could provide some depth as a rookie. Will Anderson and TJ Watt are your starting defensive ends. Got some depth there with Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Don't like them both being off the Jets. Marshawn Nealon should provide some depth going forward. Linebackers, Terrell Bernard, Quay Walker as your starters. Jack Campbell, maybe Willie Gay, Trenton Simpson, Dorian Williams probably provide depth. Corners, Dax Hill and L'Jarius Sneed. And safeties, Brian Branch, Javon Bullard, Cam Bynum, and Jordan Whitehead. Trayvon Moreg, probably your main backup, and Cole Bishop once he secures a job. All right. Overall, offensively, we're looking at 183.41. Defensively, 229.87 for a 413.28 grade. Overall for the Colosseum Conference, this is how it grades out. Poseidon significantly on top. We'll see if this how it plays out, but just grades out really well. Perseus, I think, was the other division anyway, so yeah, that's your two division winners. Then Zeus, Pan, Praetorian Guards, and Dymanus all into the playoff spots. And man, I hate this name. Dionysus, Bacchus, and Achilles, King Leonidas, and Neos Hercules. I'd say there's a decent chance, at least for this season, that's where Ricky probably finishes. And that's probably what he wants. So, all right. Now, I have got the overall standings here. I'll switch over to them. So, overall, the Poseidon team rates out as the number one overall team in both conferences. Apollo into number 2 spot. Remus, number 3. The Phalanx, number 4. And round out the top 5 is Perseus. The highest rated team not to make the playoffs is Chimera, my own. Sounds probably about you. But I think generally if you throw a line over, say, probably from about there to probably there-ish, that's probably, I reckon they're all very close together. And even the top ones, I don't see when I was looking at each team, I don't see a ridiculous standout team. I do see teams that are probably going to struggle, and they're down the bottom for a reason. But by the same token, it's not like you can't turn it around. Ricky's is probably the only team that I would sit there and say if he made the playoffs this year, I'd be extremely stunned. Most of the others look like they can be at least competitive. So injuries, bye weeks, suspensions, all that stuff's going to play a major role in this league. I haven't gone through and tried to grade the teams myself. I just haven't got time for it. I thought this was probably the easiest, fairest way for me to go through and do it. And, yeah. So that's it pretty much. I've got not much else to say. According to these ratings, Poseidon's the red hot favourite. I'll leave that on the screen there so that you can see it easily from number 1 all the way through. Actually, what I'll do, I did this on the other ones. I'll show you who's got the top offense, top defense as well. Where are we? Offense. So Poseidon, Remus, Hermes, Perseus, and Pan all grayed out with the best offenses. Defenses. Oops. What did I do? Defense. Apollo, Zeus, Poseidon, Icarus, and the Phalanx as the top defenses. Yeah. Well, should be a fun league. And I have sent out an email regarding the league payments and the waivers. So if you want to put into waivers, you've got, I think, 2 more days before they get processed. They'll be processed, I think, at 4 p.m. US Eastern Time on the 17th of August, I believe it is. So, yeah, you've got about just under 2 days before that gets processed. All right, guys. Thanks for watching if you do. And good luck for the season. Thank you.